we now have something called the Green New Deal for Health. Oh my gosh.
What could go wrong? Sounds wonderful.
Listen, what could possibly go wrong? I think, and I'm gonna tell you what, there's more than the Green New Deal for health. They have like 10 Green New Deals now or whatever, and all they are is a wish list of programs that obviously is just for government overreach under the guise of, helping, less fortunate communities or helping the planet. They don't care one iota about it. What this does is it allows them to get their tentacles in every facet of everything in society so they can control it. So let's read some of the pages of this beauteous program, because it's actually, you can go to the website, you can find the Green New Deal for Health, and they actually have a pamphlet, and I will read it. We are facing intersecting climate and health crises brought on by big oil and big corporations. Wait, I thought this was about health, right? That are more concerned with their bottom line than our health and safety. But there is still hope. 4 years ago, we introduced the Green New Deal, a plan to take on the climate crisis and secure a just and livable future for all. 4 years later, we've seen a movement blossomed behind it. And while there is still more work to do, last year's historic climate action gives us proof: when we fight, we win. And we're going to fight. Right now, frontline communities are already suffering the impacts of climate change. A pandemic has laid bare the severity of inequality, and our healthcare system is stretched to the brink. My gosh, they give this guy like a writing award, right? We must empower all people working in our healthcare systems with the resources they need now before it's too late. That is why we need the Green New Deal for Health, a whole of government, whole of health approach to the urgent crisis facing our nation. Now, this is 2 pages into this thing, and like, it scares the heck out of me, because we just, like they said, there was a pandemic. We just went through the pandemic, and if anything that taught us is keep government the heck out of hospitals. They screwed hospitals so bad. They screwed people so bad. They got in between the doctor and the patient. Not only did they get in between the doctor and patient, they forced hospitals to do things that were against the Hippocratic Oath. And there was doctors afraid of losing their licenses, because if I don't follow what the government says, I'm gonna be unlicensed and I can't help anybody.
What's interesting to me is there was no real details in there. It's like, oh, we need
Oh,
to increase spending, or we
let
need to
me
do this, but
let me read some more. I got some more. We can. Oh my
it kind of reminds me of you know, when you're in high school and people are running for class president, and you have
Yeah.
those kids that are like, oh, I promised free recess at every single opportunity, or like, you know, they have all these kind of fake promises that they want.
Yeah.
This kind of has a little bit of
Well,
flavor of that,
the
and
the problem is the problem is these aren't fake promises. These are things that they're trying to sell to people so they can infiltrate and, like I said, put their tentacles in every facet of everything, so they can flip the levers and control the levers to then, like I said, you have a CBDC, and you have an e-verify system, and you don't have the right views. Oh, Justin, you're not going to be able to get that medical coverage you want because you're problematic. So let's read a little more. We will build healthy communities by investing in community health centers to make sure all Americans have access to high quality, dignified care. Establishing a public accountability process to ensure communities can still get access to care when hospitals close or reduce services. Strengthening community mental health to combat the taxing psychological and emotional toll of extreme weather disasters. Oh my, that was such a toll. Oh my gosh, it just anything, right? Anything just to get people to do something. Providing funding to protect people from extreme heat in order to reduce heat related illness and death, including solar batteries, heat pumps, and other resiliency measures as eligible Medicare expenses, so people with disabilities can install life-saving resilient home infrastructure. Hey, can my Medicare pay for my solar panels? Yes, it can.
you
Like,
have
and they,
yeah, Biden panels.
the Biden panels. And again, here's the thing about it. We laugh and they don't care. That's the big problem everyone has to understand. They don't care. They're gonna try pushing this as much as they can. Push, push, push. So let's go on a little bit more. There's only a couple more pages and it's just ridiculous. It says we will support healthcare workers by growing the community health workforce and empowering healthcare workers like doctors, nurses, midwives, and others to help build healthy careers and healthy communities over the next decade. I have a problem with this. I'll get back to this in a second. Protecting healthcare workers from union busting and prioritizing grants to facilities that collectively bargain with their workers. Oh, we got to talk about this. We got to talk about these two really quick. Okay, so the first one, growing the community health workforce by empowering healthcare workers like doctors, nurses, and midwives. If anything happened in the last 2 or 3 years, I hope what people realize is they did the total opposite of this. The total opposite of this. I don't know how many nurses, how many people I've talked to that worked in that industry who said the only thing that happened was government got in the way, and so many people have left, so many people were fired because the government got in the way. And now what they want to do, we want to grow a workforce. How about you don't fire half the workforce? You don't fire a bunch of people that signed up to protect people, to help people out, have a Hippocratic oath, and they're sitting there saying, I'm trying to save these people. And the government's like, well, yes, you can't give them that medication, though. And like, it'll save them. Yes, you can't give it to them, or we'll fire you. Then fire me. Okay, you're fired. Boom. But we want to grow these. And then, right, here's what they do. We're gonna protect healthcare from union busting. We're gonna give money to help build unions. And I'm not against unions, but that seems to go one political party's direction, right?
Dare I say it? Look at what teachers' unions has done to the teaching industry.
And you know what? I kind of probably do maybe wish there was a little bit some sort of stronger union or backbone. The problem is I would like a union that was detached from all politics. I would really love a union like that, because what would happen is if the union was aligned with a certain party and the certain party is like, hey, we want to do this, and the union comes down and is like, hey, listen, we're going to do this, and the people in their union like, well, that kind of goes against what we're supposed to do, right? We're supposed to take care of people, and you're basically saying you're putting profits over people, and like, yeah, but we're your union and you don't want to fight us. And that's, I don't mind the unions, but we need to separate them from politics. And this doesn't do it, because this is how they're going to use your tax dollars to fund initiatives to keep them in power. And we have to stop doing that. So let's read on a little bit more.
Look at ballot question 1. It was the number 1 funding for ballot question 1 was the SEIU. It's the employers union. So it just, they just get used and abused for political purposes.
Okay, really. So really quick, we're getting back into the thing. Remember, this is about healthcare. So let me read the next paragraph. Investing in climate and health education. Whoa. Climate and health education and training grants to make sure all healthcare workers have the knowledge and skills they need to protect our health from the impacts of the climate crisis. Oh my gosh. Oh. Establishing grants to secure hazard pay for essential workers that care for us not only after climate disasters but during. I don't you know, like I said, I think what they're starting to do, and it is kind of smart. Like, if you're a political person, I'm not gonna, poo-poo what they're trying to do. They're trying to bring all these things together to give legitimacy to spending all this money, right? Yes, does climate affect people's health in some aspects? Yes. But they're gonna go way overboard on this stuff, and I don't think what we should be doing is. Well, let me put it to you this way, Jim, because this thought just popped into my head. You and I were both in the military, and I was in a little longer than you. And when I first got there, we had certain training, and then what happened is they're like, "Oh, you have this training, and now you need." This training, and now you need this training, and now you need this training, and it had nothing to do with your job, had nothing to do with you being in the military. But what it had to do is some politician with a special interest or hair across their butt sitting there being like, I want to force them to learn about this. And all it does is it takes away time from you doing your job. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to say, hey, listen, everything you do, we're going to put this other thing that you have to think about, or we're going to teach you about all these other things that really aren't going to help you be better and more efficient at your job.
I do have to appreciate the bow they're able to wrap around this thing, but it couldn't come at a more like comical time, because as you know, this week there's the talks with the debt ceiling going on. So it's like, what money, where is this money going to come from? So we already don't have enough money to pay the bills that we're currently spending on. And all this is going to do is add more pressure to that. And it's like, at what point does everything just like...
Jim, how dare you? It's not all about money. We have 10 years left. And I said that 10 years ago, but now this time it's 10 years left.
Yeah, it's like every 5 years there's a new climate study that the world's going to end in 5 years.
Yeah,
and
it hasn't happened yet. So, all right, let's get to the next slide. All right, we will secure a green and resilient healthcare system by reviving a New Deal era program to build, modernize, weatherize zero-emission health facilities to ensure people can access healthcare before, during, and after crises. Oh my gosh. Providing planning grants to engage community members to ensure modernization investments serve real community needs. They want to invest in research into the solutions to the climate health crisis so that we can educate and innovate. And mobilizing federal agencies for a whole of government approach to protect our health and our planet by decarbonizing the health sector. Now, again, all right. So that first one is something we've talked about. Like, we want to modernize, weatherize, zero emission health facilities. So what does that mean? It means we're going to put probably some solar panels. We're going to put some wind turbines up. We're going to have some batteries in some place. And then when a hurricane happens, because the Green New Deal, and this is all weatherization stuff, when a hurricane happens and you lose power lines and solar panels are blown off your roof and it's cloudy and you don't have gas because you remove gas and nuclear, your facility isn't going to be running. And these people won't care because they're going to design, just like the governor of New York, like, we don't want this stuff anymore. We don't want gas. We don't want nuclear. All we want is this green energy that isn't 100%. It's not going to solve all the problem. As you said earlier, we need a mix of things. These people don't care about the mix of things. The only thing that matters to them is the end goal and achieving the end goal, and everything else be damned.
Meanwhile, guess what they're building straight into Washington, D.C. right now? A huge natural gas pipeline.
Oh, good. Well, you're going to need it. So, all right. So here's the last.
My point is that they don't care about this stuff for them. It's like they're okay with going with the cheap, affordable energy, and that's reliable. But you are going to be the ones that are stuck with all this stuff that ends up failing, and you're the one that's going to suffer from this. But meanwhile, they're going to be, just like John Kerry. He parrots the climate narrative, and everyone else has to stop traveling and has to stop using gas. But it's okay that he flies across the world in his private jet and pollutes across the world on his way there.
Yes. All right, so we have one more page of this, and again, this, like I said, they wrap it up, and it's a horrible wrap up. And I'd love just to sit here and have a discussion with these people because it's nonsensical. All right, it says the Green New Deal for Health boldly reimagines our healthcare system, bringing together the principles of the Green New Deal, good-paying jobs, justice for all, and a livable future to create a healthcare system that people deserve. A healthcare system that prioritizes people, not profits, and a healthcare system where everyone doesn't just survive, they thrive. For climate justice, for worker justice, for health justice, we will pass a Green New Deal for health. So this aggravates me. A healthcare system that prioritizes people, not profits. If you believe that, you've been asleep for the last 2 years. Right? The only thing that was prioritized in the last 2 years was profits. And I think most people I talk to about this know that. They sit there, everyone knows, like, hey, listen, hospitals were paid this much more for this, and hospitals were paid this much more for that. And you know what? The government said, don't go to get your cancer diagnosis check, or if you're feeling something, don't go to the hospital. How many people did they say died in the last 2 years because they didn't have access to medical care because they weren't allowed to go there? What were they prioritizing? You know, I know what they're prioritizing. Like, hey, listen, if you come in for this, we make more money for that. If you come in for this,
Oh,
we don't
yeah.
make as much money, so don't come in for this.
Yeah, and
It's crazy.
and the VA is probably most notably the worst run healthcare, one of the worst healthcare options out there, and that's has a huge government footprint. I mean, you talk about a lot of the major stories that have come out, and it's mostly with the VA. It's how much influence the government has in the VA, and so it's pretty much just like the VA on steroids across for everybody,
Yeah.
which isn't a good solution.
So I got one other thing. So what I did is I typed in the Green New Deal for health, and I actually on April 20th, 2023, kind of missed this. Like I said, sometimes when you're doing your research, we find things, and so it's kind of recent, but about a month ago that this information came out, and there's an actual PDF. I will put the PDF link in the comments below section, or you could just Google search the Markey and Ocasio-Cortez reintroduced Green New Deal resolution. Just Google search that, and it'll come up with a PDF. But I found this very, very interesting part of it. And again, because I didn't know about the Green New Deal for health, right? And there's a part that says the Green New Deal for health is one of 10 Green New Deal bills that have been developed to date. Others include the Green New Deal for public housing, the Green New Deal for cities, the Green New Deal for public schools, and the Civilian Climate Corps for Jobs and Justice Act. We gotta wake up. We, we, I like.
At this point, you're gonna have a harder time finding things that haven't had the Green New Deal slapped onto them than you are that have.
And again, I think that was my point with this, and because again, I kind of researched some of this stuff before.
Green New Deal for elections.
Yeah, I've seen some of this before, and what they want to do is they want to get their grubby hands into everything. So again, like really quick, the Green New Deal for public schools, the federal government has no right to be in public schools. The Department of Education probably should be defunded. The public school system is supposed to be set up that your towns are what funds the public schools. And one of the biggest misconceptions that we have all the time is that the federal government education spending is nothing. They spend so much on the military. They need to spend more on education. I go, no, dipstick, that's not how it was set up. Your house taxes are supposed to pay for your school system. And your house taxes are in your town. That's why you have a school committee, and that's how it's supposed to work. And then the state also will put in money or whatever if a school system's hurting for cash or whatever. The federal government's not supposed to have a say. But again, if we have a Green New Deal for this, for healthcare, and if we have a Green New Deal for this, let's have a Green New Deal for the NFL or sports. That's what they should have, because they're getting political too, and politics makes everything worse. We need to tell politicians, back up, fix the streets. When you can start fixing things, when you can start taking care of things, when you can start doing things that you're elected to do, and you do them well and responsibly and fiscally responsible, and you're honest and upfront and transparent, maybe then I would be like, yeah, you're doing a great job. Why don't you try helping out over here too? But you can't even do the simple things right. And what you do is like, oh, we fixed this problem because we threw money at it. It's not fixed, but we're gonna go fix this other problem now while this one just sits here and dies and withers and sucks.
I like how you brought up the point between the local and the federal stuff too, because at least with the local stuff, that's like kind of going directly to what it's used for, and like you have a little bit more insight into that. all the stuff that gets sucked up into the federal and the state buckets, it's like gets sucked up at like the Department of Education, then it gets like repurposed into a grant that goes to the state, and then the state has their own grant department and like wraps it up and sends it back to the local town. So it's like by the time it actually makes its way back around to the community that the tax dollars actually came from, it's taken like a 60% haircut, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, why do we even do this
It's
budget jujitsu? And let's just, you know, not tax people as much and
Yes.
just plug whatever is needed into the local economy. And like, it doesn't have to go through all these, you know, other forms of
well,
manipulation, money
I know,
laundering.
I know we're veering off course a little bit, but like sometimes, like I said, you say things and spur something in my head. So you just said about this grant. So last night in our town, we had a town meeting and they wanted to hire a grant writer and they were going to vote on it. But the Board of Selectmen was like, well, we want to educate you on why a grant writer was going to be good. So we're going to table this for now and reintroduce this after we educate you because we think you people should be educated that this grant writer will be able to get money for the town and it's not going to be your taxes. It's not going to be any new taxes to you. I sat there and I'm like, oh my gosh, did this guy just say that? Where does this grant money come from?
Right.
Oh, it didn't come from my taxes. It came from his taxes. Taxes are taxes. You might as well just take all your money, throw it in the pool, and then just divvy it out whichever way you want and whatever percentage you want. At some point in time, it's your taxes. Your taxes have to pay for something. And these people want to sell it like, hey, listen, we can get a grant writer. And like I told my wife, because my wife is there, I'm like, all right, let's say we get a grant writer. Can they tell us if we get a grant writer and the grant writer's writing grants for the schools and the town and all this other stuff, do our taxes go down? Because if they're bringing in money, our
Right.
money, our tax money, shouldn't our taxes go down? Oh, they're not going to go down. We're just going to get more things
Right.
with your money. And the thing with grants is they always, not all of them, but a lot of them have those poison pills, right? If you accept this money after these terms or after these conditions are met, you are going to have to do this for us, right? It kind of like the federal government wanted paid for a bunch of public school teachers, which they never should have done, and every town that accepted the teachers for the year or two that the federal government paid for them, they had to hold on to those and retain those teachers for so many years afterwards. So hey, this town couldn't afford this teacher. We're going to pay you for a couple of years, and then after that, by law, you're going to have to retain them longer, and you couldn't afford it in the first place. So again, it just, we got to do better, people. We have to pay more attention. We have to do something. That's one of the biggest things we say is no longer can we sit by and just let our politicians, under the cloak of darkness, under the secrecy that they use, or just because we're too busy doing, living our lives, just to let them get away with stuff, because this is what's happening. This is, if everything we talked about today, if you can't understand that they have a plan, the plan is eventually to be in everything and then to control you so they can have, I don't know if you want to call it absolute power, but almost all power and control over you. I don't know. I don't think I'm overreacting. I just think you're seeing that we have politicians that no longer do what they're supposed to do. That's represent the people. What they're doing is whatever the party wants them to do, whatever they need to do, whatever structures they need to build to stay in power, they're building that now. And if we fall asleep at the wheel and we don't push back and we don't say something, pretty soon we're not going to have a say.
Yeah, and I think the bottom line is none of this is sustainable. It's like all this stuff, it just grows and grows. It's like college admission fees, It's like they get the unlimited funding. All of a sudden, there's a new athletic field. All of a sudden, there's this new other science project. And the government it acts the same way. It's just it gets added onto the debt, and eventually the whole thing comes crashing down. And when we get to that point, I don't know, but when we do, it's not going to be a pretty sight.